This is the story of a ghost from the Vietnam War that everyone thought was just a legend, until he showed up at the shooting range. He didn't say much. He wore a faded flannel shirt, worn-out jeans, and a plain ball cap with no insignia. His shooting stance was from a different era, his groupings flawless. To the young, arrogant Navy SEAL recruits who strutted around the range with their state-of-the-art rifles, he was just some old-timer burning through ammo. They called him Pops and quietly laughed at how he only ever brought one box of rounds, always leaving after exactly 30 shots. They saw a relic, but they didn't see how he shot. His name was Martin. At least that's what he scrawled on the sign-in sheet every Wednesday morning. He was always there at 0645, a full 15 minutes before the range officially opened. He'd give a silent nod to the guy behind the counter and walk with quiet, deliberate steps to lane 7, the one furthest from the building, away from the Bluetooth speakers and the ego talk. His boots, though worn, were immaculate. He carried a single battered pistol case and an old thermos that never left his bench. Most people didn't notice him, but Jared noticed. Jared was young, but he was different. He was one of the sharpest trainees in his SEAL class, trained to see the details others missed. At first, he just heard the rhythm. Not the loud crack of the shots, but the silence in between. 3 shots, a breath, reset. 2 shots, a breath, reset. It was a cadence of pure control. No wasted motion, no flinch from the recoil. Jared glanced sideways. The old man's grip was textbook, but a textbook from a war fought in jungles, not on computer screens. He wasn't reacting to the recoil. He was becoming one with it, anticipating it, absorbing it into his very bones. Then, as the old man reloaded his magazine with an economy of movement that was almost hypnotic, Jared saw it. Just for a second. A faded tattoo on the inside of his forearm. It wasn't a flag, not an anchor, not a skull. It was something older, more subtle. A symbol that wasn't bought in a tattoo parlor, but earned in blood and mud, in places that didn't appear on any map. Jared froze, his own magazine halfway to his pistol. He'd seen that symbol before, in a dusty, classified history briefing on a unit that officially never existed. A Marine Corps Force recon unit that operated so deep in enemy territory, they were considered ghosts. Men who went behind enemy lines and didn't come back for months, if at all. Before we find out what happened next, we have a question for you. What do you think is the difference between a soldier and a warrior? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you believe true heroes operate in the shadows, subscribe to Silent Valor. Jared's heart hammered against his ribs. His mind raced, connecting the dots. The old-school stance, the flawless precision, the quiet confidence, and now this tattoo. Could it be a legend standing right next to him, calmly shooting at paper targets? He waited, his own shooting forgotten, until Martin finished his last round and began to clean his pistol with unhurried, methodical movements. Each piece was wiped down with a practiced familiarity, as if it were an extension of his own hand. Then, Jared took a slow step over, his own bravado gone, replaced by a deep, almost fearful curiosity. "Excuse me, sir," Jared said, his voice quieter than he intended, barely a whisper above the distant pop of gunfire. "That ink on your arm, that's old school, isn't it? First recon?" Martin didn't stop polishing the barrel of his pistol. He didn't look up, not right away. He finished his motion, carefully placed the cleaning rag on the bench, and only then did he slowly raise his head. His eyes were a pale, piercing blue, and they seemed to look right through Jared, weighing and measuring him in an instant. They were calm, but it was the kind of calm that comes after a lifetime of storms. A calm that has made peace with chaos. "Some things don't get old," Martin said, his voice a low rumble like distant thunder. "They just get quiet." That was it. Not a confirmation, not a denial. But for Jared, it was everything. The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. He didn't salute. He just gave a short, sharp nod and stepped back. He returned to his lane, but he didn't fire. He just watched. His friends, still laughing and comparing their groupings, didn't understand. "What's with you, man? You look like you've seen a ghost," one of them chuckled. Jared just shook his head. "Show some respect," he muttered, his voice low and intense. Confused, they looked at him, then at the old man, and the intensity in Jared's voice finally silenced them. The atmosphere on the range had changed. The laughter died. Now, everyone was watching the old man. Martin seemed not to notice. He packed his bag with the same deliberate, unhurried pace. As he turned to leave, Jared did something rare. He snapped to attention. No jokes, no sarcasm. Just pure, unadulterated respect for a man who had walked through fires he couldn't even imagine. Martin stopped mid-step. He turned back and looked at Jared for a long moment. Then, he walked slowly back over. He reached into his pocket and pressed something into Jared's hand. It was a coin. Heavy, made of real metal with no markings or date. On one side, there was only the faint, hand-engraved insignia of the recon unit. "Some stories aren't meant to be told," Martin said, his voice so low only Jared could hear. "They're meant to be carried. Go earn your own." And then he was gone. No handshake, no salute. Just an old man disappearing into the morning sun, leaving behind a silence that was louder than any gunshot. Jared stood there, the weight of the coin a brand in his palm. His friends gathered around him, their faces full of questions. "Who was that?" one of them whispered. Jared looked at the empty lane 7, then down at the coin. "That," he said, his voice full of awe, "was a ghost." They didn't understand, not really. But they understood that they had just witnessed something that went far beyond their training manuals. They hadn't just seen an old man. They had seen a truth hidden in plain sight. A truth that said the most dangerous men aren't the ones who shout the loudest, but the ones who have learned to survive the silence and carry the weight of the stories that can never be told.